let us probe further into this lamentation of Sheikh Gumi. And of course, we understand that the way it is, the Fulani militaries are getting it hot in different theater of operation where the military is registering success, even after the arrest of Bermuda terrorist leaders. And I think it's a welcome development. I always say it, that whatever the success comes from, whether on the part of locals, whether on the part of security agencies, is a welcome development. I think they form the basis for which the Sheikh Gumi himself has started lamenting heavily, because we understand that any time the government start getting it right, what we start seeing is Sheikh Gumi and his likes trying to derail the government with their flimsy excuses. Because how can someone as enlightened as Sheikh Gumi alleging that they have Mossad agents in Nigeria, and equally alleging that they will be targeting Muslim leaders? Let us even assume, though I do not have the intelligence anyway, or rather any classified information in that regard, let us even assume that we have Mossad agents in Nigeria. It's unthinkable that as someone as enlightened as Sheikh Gumi will be making the allegation that they will be targeting Muslim leaders without any evidence. And again, even as we have started seeing success in terms of arresting bandit leaders, I think all hands must be on deck. If not for anything, patriotic Nigerians should rise and support the government in this quest to rid the society of this menace of banditry as we have it. But you cannot take that away. Fulani militias of Nigerian extraction have been designated as the fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. This is not the making of Nigerian government. This is not the making of any Nigerian. It is a well-known fact by international bodies. And is that the case? I think the government of Nigeria should know that they are dealing with a very formidable force that deserve the might of government, that deserve every power to rule them out. Because for me, the best Nigerian government could do is to go ahead to acquire monopoly of coercive power and ignore the likes of Sheikh Gumi and use that monopoly of coercive power to police every inch of Nigerian territorial integrity, root out bandits from every inch of Nigerian territorial integrity, set them running and bring them to justice. That is why I salute the courage of the DSS and their strategy in arresting those Bermuda bandit leaders. And I think we are hoping to get to see more in that regard, because there is no way Nigeria and Nigerians can be happy seeing fellow Nigerians suffering in the hands of kidnappers on a daily basis. Because the way it is, even the Jonathan administration that was recording success, according to a former House of Assembly member from Borno State, it is the same Northerners that gang up against a Jonathan, remove him from office, and even fail to continue with the trajectory through which they were decimating Boko Haram. But according to the man, who I will play his video shortly. Of course, just listen to it before I continue, for us to have a sense of what we are discussing here.
During Jonathan, we brought mercenaries. They were about to finish Boko Haram. But because of our complacency and personal aggrandizement and personal interest, we asked them to go back. And we are still battling with the issue. I was in Borno State as a member of a state House of Assembly when the mercenaries were in Borno. They were less than 30. They operate in a place like this. Everybody with a laptop before him, observing what is happening in the bush. The moment they discover an enclave, they will be able to identify how many weapons do they have, what kind of weapons are they using, how many AK-47 do they have, how many explosives do they have. They will take only 3 or 4 people in a chopper, go and clear everything. They will snap pictures before clearing them and bring back exhibit. We are about to finish it. And because of interest, personal interest, that if we allow mercenaries to finish this thing, we are not going to get anything. How much was the bill given by the mercenaries? Even Russia is employing mercenaries to fight for them, isn't it? Are we stronger than Russia? Is there anything wrong if you can bring somebody that can fight for you? There's nothing wrong in that.
So having listened to him, you can understand that there are some elements in the north who benefit from this insurgency. who benefit from this banditry, who do not want it to end. That is why some people in the past have even accused some government officials, even some governors in the north, that they are sympathizers of these terror groups and even banditry. Because there is no better way to explain it. What these people are doing is purely crime against humanity. The likes of Toji Bello, the likes of Ada Leru for me should not have peace. Because they say there is no peace for the wicked. That's why I go with the ideology of the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, who made it clear that bandits do not resign, bandits do not repent. That the only repentant bandit is one that have died. That any living bandit cannot repent. That his own ideology is to disalive them, send them to the creator who have the ultimate power to judge them. I think that is the way to go. Because if you look at what transpired in the north recently, talking about when even the military personnel arrested a supposed colleague, a repentant Boko Haram who was integrated into the Nigerian army. And it was discovered that he wrapped ammunition around his waist, which he ostensibly wanted to send to his colleagues, Boko Haram members in the bush. He was arrested and, of course, he was shamed. So it now go to show that, of course, that laid credence to the point that bandits do not repent. I think what happens in most cases is that their commanders in the bushes, in the forest, will ask them to pretend to have repented, come out and embrace federal government's amnesty. At the end of the day, they'll be integrated into the society, into the army, and their leaders will now start using them to gather intelligence. Because if you look at the other burning down of maritime military base, a formidable military base, I think that couldn't have happened without an actionable intelligence on the part of the bandits, on the part of the terrorists. Because they must have an insider for them to be able to compromise the security of such formidable military base. So that's why I am telling the federal government that Nigerians, particularly the patriotic ones, are solidly behind the federal government to ensure that they deal decisively with the bandits. Of course, there should be no negotiation. There should be no amnesty for bandits. Because even the advocate of negotiation for bandits is unacceptable. Because it exposes Nigerian sovereign state as a weak state. How can you tell an American government, a Russian government, a US government, an Israeli government that they should go and start negotiating with bandits? I think it's unacceptable. That is why I was not happy when I saw the life of Ada Leru having meeting with Zamfara State Governor and Katsina State Governor. This is a terrorist who should be taken out from the battlefield or arrested, prosecuted, or other deterrent to others. Because if you are negotiating with them, what you are saying is that the life of Nigerians, even military personnel who are dying as a result of their nefarious activities, do not have value. The best the government could do, I repeat, is to acquire people of collective power, smoke them out of their hiding places, set them running, and bring them to justice. There's no better way to say that. Because the way it is, we are seeing Nigerians dying in their numbers. It was disheartening when we read the news about this disaliving of about 30-something persons from Zamfara State, who the only thing they committed is being Nigerians and living in those environments. And as we have it, they were adopted, ransom demanded. It turned out that those that could not pay ransom paid with their blood. Quite unfortunate. And it is unacceptable. Because whether we like it or not, the president have the mandate, the responsibility to protect lives and property. The governors in their respective states have the mandate and the responsibility to protect lives and property. Having sworn to their oaths in their respective capacities as governors, even as the president, to protect lives and property. That's why I continue maintaining that the governors going forward should parade some level of security power. Because they cannot go by the name of the governor and the chief security officer of the state, yet do not command the fly. Going forward, I think they should start commanding some level of security power. Because we understand that under the last administration of Muhammadu Buhari, it was like a tug of war between the former governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu, may so rest in peace, Akeredolu and the former president, talking about Muhammadu Buhari, where Akeredolu was consistently maintaining and insisting that Amateku in the southern part of the country should be allowed to bear arms. And this is not far-fetched, because Amateku is a creation of the Act of State House of Assembly in the southwestern part of the country. So it's a legal body. But under Muhammadu Buhari, they were not allowed to bear arms. Simply because for you to procure arms and deploy it in that magnitude, you need an end-user certificate that comes from the Office of the National Security Advisor, and that they could not get under the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. But I have a belief that now that we have someone else in the saddle, of course, is Southerner, that Tinubu should do things differently. That is why I salute the courage of the current Director General of DSS, talking about Ajayi, who have encouraged communities and who have even made it clear that communities should be empowered to be the first line of defense in case of invasion. And I think in the recent time, we have started seeing communities rising to the occasion, because I want to tell you that we were happy as Nigerians when we saw success recorded by Abraka locals in the fight against banditry. Of course, we understand that a handful of them were arrested and even some of them disalived. I think that was done in collaboration with the police. We only saw another breakthrough from Owashuku in Delta State. I think perhaps that is why they say that are not the carry last. But again, apart from Delta State, we have seen a major breakthrough from Kwara, where a handful of the bandits were arrested by the locals. And of course, I think the military at some point collaborated with them. But again, we are seeing another strategy coming from Delta State as well, where the locals are synergizing, collaborating with the military, using technology in terms of drone to track the bandits, go into the den of bandits under the leadership of a local person, apprehending a handful of them. I think it's a welcome development, and we should continue to encourage such move. But again, let me say that we must rejig our security architecture. I equally totally align with the approach of the government recently, particularly the federal government, that came up with the idea of forest guards. I think it's the way to go. Though state police is the appropriate thing to do, but if we are not getting state police in the meantime, and we are getting forest guard, and the locals will be adequately and appropriately integrated into it, I think it's the way to go. Because it has been established that all crime is local. And if all crime is local, it's going to show that the intelligence, of course, actionable intelligence that is needed to address insecurity rests with the locals. And the only way the locals can divulge such intelligence to security agencies is if they are integrated into the system. And again, if they are leaders, when I mean they are leaders, I'm talking about traditional rulers who obviously have moral authority over the people, are equally integrated into the system. Because currently, I understand that we have a trust deficit, a situation where the locals do not have implicit confidence in divulging some level of actionable intelligence to the security agencies. But the point is, if they see their leaders in terms of traditional rulers in the security arrangement, it becomes easier for them to relate to them in terms of divulging such intelligence. And once such intelligence gets to the desk of the traditional rulers, they can seamlessly, of course, release such information to security agencies who can now use it to nip crime in the bud. I must say that if the security agencies had such intelligence before the compromising of maritime military base, they would have averted it. That is why the locals must be appropriately and adequately integrated into the security arrangement. But not repentant Boko Haram, not repentant bandits. Any bandit that is arrested must be prosecuted to act as deterrent to others. And bandits that are in the bushes, that are in the forest, must be neutralized in the battlefield. That is why even when the military announced the taking out of Tony Bello's cousin, who doubles as a field commander, Nigerians were happy, particularly those in the axis of Zamfara, who have been having sleepless nights as a lot of nefarious activities of the bandits. We are very happy to see such evil character being taken out. And we hope to see more of such action from security agencies. Like I always maintain, wherever the success against bandits is coming from, whether on the part of the military, whether on the part of the police, whether on the part of the locals, is a welcome development. Come to think of it, why should someone be asking for amnesty for bandits, where it is very clear that bandits are from other parts of the world, as echoed by the former president talking about Muhammadu Buhari. Now, it then go to show that if you are asking for amnesty for them, you are not saying bandits, Fulani militias can start converging in Nigeria from different parts of the world, coming here to obtain amnesty. I must say it's unacceptable. It doesn't matter the opinion of Sheikh Gumi or any other person that may have that ideology. It is unacceptable. Nigerian government cannot be using taxpayers' money, the scarce resources, to start paying bandits. Because even in the time past, there was allegation that the government of Muhammadu Buhari paid 100 billion to bandits, or rather to Fulani militias, or even at best to Mietiala to stop killing. Though as at then, the government denied it, Mietiala denied it, but it was speculated that the government of Muhammadu Buhari paid such money. But meanwhile, I will say very big thank you for your time. This is Mr. Mati.